We gotta get out of this spot. What is up, MFers? Welcome out to beautiful Lake Fork. Just got the camper pulled in. Kids are banging on the window right back there, so if you hear a little noise back there, they're trying to be a part of the video. So Myra and Oz here, sitting there watching me. But yeah, just got pulled in, got settled in a little bit, tied some of my baits on, but I still have quite a bit to tie on actually before we go to bed, before I lose daylight. So I thought it'd be a good time to kind of run through my breakdown of Lake Fork, what I'm going to be looking for, what's going on right now in theory, and then the baits, the exact baits I have tied on. And I got a couple baits tied on, some of which you never seen before. So I'm excited for those. So first off, welcome to Lake Fork. This is event number 5. This is the Hump Tournament, middle of the season. Haven't had a great season so far. Started off with, you know, 2 okay tournaments, finishes in the 60s. Completely bombed in North Carolina. Hated that. Pretty much got last place. And then we had a really strong one last week at Hartwell. And so I think we're sitting right around 70th or so in Angler of the Year points. We got to keep on climbing up there to to try to get inside that classic cut, which will be in like the low 40s range. So it's definitely doable. We're not out of anything yet. And like I said, this is the Hump Tournament. This is event number 5. It's right dead center in the middle of the season. And it's somewhere that I'm really happy that we're fishing. This is the first place I've been to this season where I've actually spent a decent amount of time. Still, just like the last places, I'm sure you're gonna hear multiple times how this is one of my home lakes, or this is somewhere that I have a ton of experience. In reality, I've fished one tournament here and 95% of the field has been here more days in the water than I have based on previous tournaments. The Elite Series has come here 4 out of the last 5 seasons, several Texas Fest events before that. So I'm behind the 8 ball as far as experience goes here. But as you guys know, I've spent the last 3 years, you know, fishing these Texas waters that are somewhat similar to this lake. I love catching big bass, and that's exactly what we're going for this year. Speaking of, last year, if you guys remember, different time of the year, it was pre-spawn. Everyone in the top 10 got a Century Club belt here at Lake Fork, which is pretty much unheard of. I don't know if that's ever happened outside of like going to Lake Falcon or something when it's prime like 10, 15 years ago. So very, very special lake because of the big fish. And the nice thing is there's a slot limit here where you can't keep any bass 16 to 24 inches. And so we have a marshal that actually weighs all our fish in our boat for this tournament. But we can bring one back over 24 inches if we do catch one over. So you'll see, you know, at max 1 fish per guy at the weigh-in, so you'll get to see some giant fish. But the reason that's good is I personally don't feel, it was a little bit different when the water was low, which we'll talk about that in a second, but I don't feel like this place has a ridiculous amount of fish. But it's like whenever you set the hook here, it seems like it's a good one. And the reason that's exciting that we weigh and release is I think a lot of those fish that got caught last year got caught the next day again, or got caught 2 or 3 days later again. If we brought them back to the weigh-in, I'm just saying I think there would have been a lot less weight, or a little bit less weight anyways. So I always like that format at a place like this. So Lake Fork is under 30,000 acres. It's not a huge lake, but it's a lot different than it was, you know, 4 or 5 years ago when it was low. It is full pool. It's been coming up, and just driving around, coming through here, you see the water willow and stuff's in the water. Water's up. It's on the bank. It's over the top of some of the seawalls in the bank and stuff. So more of the lake is going to play than ever has in the last, you know, 5 to 10 years at Lake Fork, which is a good thing. It's going to spread guys out much at a smaller body of water. Regardless, you're not going to see my ass on the bank. If you do, I'm really, really in trouble. Now, we might be fishing 2 feet of water. It just might be, you know, 50 to 100 feet from the bank. Coming into the season, you know, I told you guys I thought this was an asterisk season based on, you know, the funky rule changes and stuff, which made for a little bit of an unfair competitive advantage, which I hated. We got it corrected, but I hated that. I'm not gonna come here and try to catch 18 pounds a day and get 40th place or 30th place. Like, zero interest in that. And I mean, it's not like you can just go swing in. It's like, well, if you land land that uppercut, then you're gonna win the tournament by a lot. You're not gonna do that here. You're not gonna blow this tournament away because there's so many good ones here and guys are just gonna crush them. But I wanna be on top 10 fish because whoever's in the top 10 will have a chance to have that really big special day at some point in this tournament and end up pulling this thing out. So that's my goal. The way I think that's gonna happen, for me anyways, is gonna need to involve two different things. It's gonna have to involve some type of a shad spawn, whether it's threadfin or gizzard, and also finding offshore fish that have moved from their spawning stuff and they've gotten post-spawn far enough that they are out offshore, hopefully on some of the sneakier stuff, not just the most obvious things, but it's Lake Fork, it gets a ton of pressure. The fish probably aren't gonna be, you know, on the obvious stuff. If they are, they're gonna be very, very, very educated. So I'm gonna start in the mornings trying to see if there's some type of a threadfin shad bite, spawning bite, and I got a couple baits tied on that are gonna be key for that. That is gonna be, you know, hopefully we can get on a topwater bite. That's a 6 Sense Dogma right there. Bone is a great color. Of course, that's Spanish bone. Loud topwater bait up on some of these shallow, harder points. Did a lot of study on Google Earth, historical imagery before we came here. And so I got a ton of like 30, 40, maybe, you know, 60 or 70 of those points found with some harder bottoms. So we'll be checking those out for sure. And if they don't want to come up and commit to that topwater, I'm definitely gonna be throwing this 6 Sense Mini Mag. It's just an awesome, awesome bait. It's silent. It dives like 4 or 5 feet, so it'll grind those points, you know, from the start on a long cast. And speaking of long cast, it's like 7/8 of an ounce. You can bomb this thing. It's about the perfect size of a nice, you know, 2-inch threadfin shad, and it gets bit about anywhere we freaking go. But it's really good because I want to be able to cover as much water as possible. That's why I'm not throwing super slow baits in practice. I want to cover the water. Now, if I do find something with some of that threadfin shad bite, the funny thing is my #1 bait that I like to throw for a shad spawn, you guys might be like, is it a crankbait? Is it a swim jig? Is it a spinner bait? Is it a chatter bait? Swim bait, glide bait, hard bait, soft bait? Actually, none of those things at all. This guy right here is my favorite bait to throw on shallow shad spawn points. That's the 6 Sense Hog Walla. You guys might remember, use this probably more than any other bait to win that open at Toledo Bend on a Carolina rig. That's how I got her rigged up right there. There's the weight for proof if you guys need it. But you guys know I throw that all the time, and it's so deadly effective up shallow on those shallow hard points, just fishing it slow. Because I think a lot of times what happens is those bass, you know, they're so dialed into the shad, and that's what they're up there eating, of course, that if you throw something that looks like this, that's hard and has hooks on it, it's not nearly as natural. So you need something that's moving and looks in a different profile, like completely. That hog wall on the bottom's really tough for them to turn down because it's a lot easier meal too than trying to chase down some of those threadfin and gizzard shad. Now, of course, I'm hoping, you know, the threadfin shad spawn bite, if it is one, is gonna go away pretty early in the day. First couple hours, unless it's a cloudy or rainy or stormy day, it's gonna be gone. And that's when I really hope some of those bigger gizzards come in, because that is one of the times of the year when these giant 6 to 12 pound bass get stupid. So definitely gonna tie on a draw, a hangover, a couple of big prototype baits I can't show you guys quite yet. They will get slung. They're the best possible baits, and it's not gonna be out scoping and fishing in the middle. You usually can't even see the big bass because they're moving around so quick. They're on the bottom. They're in this much water a lot of times. That will get thrown. Now, when we're out offshore looking, especially in practice, my favorite thing to sling out to a school was what we saw in the video the other day, and that's the 300 and 500 DD. These are baits where if I'm side imaging and I see a group of fish, you know, a lot of times you can't tell what they are. That's when I'll come out and throw these guys right here. Absolutely deadly. You know, bright, unnatural colors and baits that can move really quick are gonna tell me really quick, you know, if the fish are biting and what species they are. So that's why I like those fast moving baits in practice. I got the Carolina rig out, like I said, just in case I'm like, I don't know, maybe, you know, they're not quite biting it, they're chasing it weird. How big are they? What are they? That's when I can soak it up with the Carolina rig. But those deep crankbaits are gonna be absolutely freaking key for that. Now, of course, if we need to finesse them a little bit and we need to get a little funky, I got a couple little new 6 Sense minnow baits. I was crushing them on this the other day. I can't show it to you too closely yet because we're not, you know, completely finished with the mold and everything, and people like to knock baits off. But That's a bait I'm really excited to throw. You know, if they get out offshore and they kind of get slowed down to everything, they don't want to bite that. And of course, I got some worm baits that I'm going to be using. I'll show you that one in a second, but got the 6-inch ridge worm and the big old bulk pack that I got them put together in. You guys have seen this bait forever. It's just that spade tail right there. At a place like Fork, that is absolutely key because these fish see a million baits. This tail doesn't have, you know, a U-tail, a C-tail, not a lot of movement, just a lot of nice flow. It's very natural. It catches really pressured fish very, very well. Whoa, I just dumped all of them out of there almost. That would have been catastrophic. Of course, when we talk about a big worm, I can't go anywhere without the old Divine shaky worm in the 7-inch size. You guys know I love this thing. Free rig it, throw it on a shaky head. You know, big shaky head, Magnum shaky is really, really popular at this lake, has been for a long time for a very good reason. Once again, I got about 20 packs of them in this one pack right here, probably 100 worms in this one pack. That's probably exaggerating, probably like 60 in this pack. That guy's gonna get slung, but this is one I'm excited about. I told Casey a long time ago, we need a bigger version of our shaky worm, the Busa shaky worm, and that's what this is. Big old Magnum 8-inch version, so a little bit bigger profile. I'll take one of these shaky head worms out really quick. A little bigger, bulkier, ribbed profile than the shaky worm, and again, this has kind of an oval shape to the worm, so it's a little narrower that way, a little fatter that way. So I'm going fat side's gonna go on the top and bottom where the hook goes through. That way we're gonna get that little extra wave action, and I'm really pumped for this bait. That's why I got it tied on. She's on the old free rig. So again, another bait that we can work to those fish out offshore once we get them dialed in, and I'm excited to sling it around, bud. That's a fun bait. It's gonna be a good bait for us, I think, a lot moving forward. But you know, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have a tournament fishing here in Texas. It's been a long time coming. Right after this, you know, we got back-to-back tournaments at Sabine River. Sabine is like, couldn't be more different than this place. And I was actually joking with John Garrett the other day on the phone. I was like, dude, think about the 4 places we've been so far. Now Lake Fork, and then Sabine, and then 10 Killer, and then where do we go? St. Clair from there? Like, there could not be more different lakes. It's like every lake we go to is a polar opposite than the one before. We start on the St. Johns River, you know, tidal, some bed fishing, just a, you know, hundreds of miles long body of Florida water. Go to Okeechobee, big round shallow bowl, wild, and then from there we go to Pasquotank River, all these hundreds of miles of river and open water and a giant ocean sound hooked onto it. And then we go to Lake Hartwell, Clear, Highland Lake, herring spawn. We come to Fork, Texas, standing timber. And then we go to Sabine River, which is just like marshes, backwaters, brackish water, tidal water. 10 Killer. I mean, I was like, is 10 Killer and Hartwell the most similar lakes in the schedule? Which they're like very, very different. Not even the same bait fish in the lake. I don't know. It's crazy though. So that's kind of a tangent I just went off on. But what I'm saying is, I feel like I'm redoing my entire boat every single week, and that's fine. I like throwing a lot of different types of tackle. So if you watch some of these videos where I'm showing you guys what I'm gonna throw, breaking on the body of water, it's all gonna be different this year because everything is very, very different. But that's what the good part of the challenge is, man. Whoever wins AOY this year has done it everywhere in a lot of different type of ways. There is no one-trick ponies, even in the top 10. Like this is gonna be a fun year. It has been so far, but I think we turned it around at Hartwell. We righted the ship a little bit, and now tomorrow morning I'm going to catch you guys first thing out on the water. We're not wasting a minute of practice this week. I hope to not be back at this campground in the daylight because I need to work my ass off to find these fish. So without further ado, we'll catch you on the water. See you in the morning, Meffers.
Good morning, Meffers. Welcome out. Morning 1, day 1 of practice here at Lake Fork. Got up early. We're out here early this morning. We can't start fishing until 30 minutes before our official sunrise, which is 6:01 a.m. So we got about 15 more minutes, but I want to get up, wake up with the lake today. This morning I'm going to look at as many places as possible here in where the campground is, which is Little Caney, for those of you guys that have watched tournaments at Lake Fork before. Little Caney always plays. It's always got good fish in it. Probably, I mean, there's the winning fish. There's 20 of the right ones, without question, to win this tournament in this creek. But they get a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of boats in here, too. I got my hoodie on right now. It's cold this morning. So supposed to have some cold mornings this week, which is weird. I wish that it was like a 95 degree every day type practice and tournament, but the highs are like high 60s, mid to mid 70s, and the lows are, I mean, it's like 50 degrees right now, which is pretty uncharacteristic for May in Texas. We're in that right period to where the fish, the big ones, should be eating. I'm just not sure what phase they're going to be in, so that's going to be our biggest step, is figuring out that phase. So let's go figure out the phase.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God, a drum? Show. Well, that's not small. Woo. Hooked her underneath the gill too. There's about 10 of these down there. God dang. We gotta get out of this spot. Well, it's been real, big girl. Get you back down there. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell them. Good morning, MFers, and welcome out to day number 3, the final day of practice. Yes, that is right. We kind of missed about a day and a half there, and the reason for that is it has been raining like a sombitch here. I spent about 3 hours a day yesterday up underneath someone's dock because rain's fine. I'll fish through the rain. I've fished through the rain about half practice so far, but the lightning was unbelievable. It was right over the top of my damn head, and it seemed like it was never going to stop. It just kept going and going and going. So kind of a quick rundown of what's happened so far. Day 1, did a lot of offshore scanning, look for shad spawn bite. Offshore, I mean, we had one group of giants, but there wasn't very many. That other group of small ones that I found. So kind of fished around, ended up figuring out there was some fish way up shallow on bed, and caught some of those fish, and kind of left some of those fish too, marked them. And that was about it. There's a shad spawn, gizzard, and threadfin a little bit, but the bass weren't really on them, at least the places I checked. That's all she wrote. Yesterday morning, started off, tried to find some shad spawn stuff and scan a different part of the lake way up north. Didn't like what I saw there. Caught a 5-pounder. Again, you guys didn't see this, but caught a 5-pounder on a square bill. Pretty average fish here. A little above average fish here, of course. And then after that, we went and pretty much hid out because it rained and stormed and it was terrible. Didn't find anything. Storm brought the lake up. I watched it as I sat on that dock, watched this lake come up. I don't know how far, but it went, you know, a good 5-6 feet up the bank. I think it probably came up a little bit over a foot. And so, I mean, post-spawn, lake comes up in the spring. I scanned around a little bit, but I pretty much was like, let's go and see what's up shallow. So I basically went and ran pockets where I've caught them good on bedding. I've caught them good, you know, and just minnow. I just know they live in those areas with a frog. In the last like hour and a half, 2 hours last night, I caught 3 that were between 5 and 6 pounds, and I had 1 that came up and ate it that I just didn't get the hooks in good, that I think was in 7 to 8 pound range. So that's promising and awesome, but frog bites are fickle, and we have some not low light, rainy, windy conditions coming. It's gonna be a little bit more sunny, slick conditions, and we always gotta be careful and fish the conditions that are coming in the tournament. That's a huge thing in pre-practice. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time this morning in a really good shallow area. I don't know it great, but I know, like, I've caught fish here in the past. It's just a good area. There's a lot of fish in this part of the lake. See if we can get the frog bite going, just see if there's something to do in the morning. And then the sun's gonna lift up a little bit. We're gonna see if it positions some of those fish in the timber, positions some of those fish offshore. We got our work cut out for us today. We got a lot of fish to find because, I mean, we got a lot of random sporadic things happening that we found so far, and nothing really that I'm thrilled about. So let's go find that magic today. I think he had it. God dang, boy. Dude, chill. Freaking crackheads up there in that grass. They're built a little bit different too. Freaking short little chad. Like that. That was not a great shake off. Was just not sure if it was a damn bass or what it was, but whoops. What the hell are you? That would be a catfish. Lion semen.